Hi there, welcome to Upskilling Online Digital Literacy. This course has been designed to help upskill you in different areas in digital technology. You may have attended our course last week through Clubs Tasmania, or you may be just joining us for the first time. Welcome, and I'm really excited to help you out today. Before we get started, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Laura, and I'm from Kingthing Marketing. We're a marketing agency based in Launceston, and we help a range of different businesses with their marketing needs. So we help with building websites, managing social media accounts, writing marketing strategies. We also are part of the Digital Ready program. So for those of you who haven't heard of the program, it's a program that allows any business in Tasmania to seek out 2 hours free mentoring or coaching every year to help upskill you with your marketing needs. So this also applies to doing things like adding attachments to your emails, and maybe how do I write social media posts for my club, or how do I have a website that showcases what we have to offer. So all of those things are covered as part of that program. And because of that program, I'm actually here today with Clubs Tasmania to deliver this specific training to help educate and upskill you guys in some different digital technology. So the things that we're going to go through in today's session are just some email basics. We're going to look at how we can share documents. We're going to look at social media, in particular, how you can use this within your club or organisation a bit more effectively, and how we can upskill ourselves to help out those that are currently in charge of that social media. We're going to then have a look at some different connecting technology, some apps, and then some resources to assist further. Sorry, I'm not sure what's happened there. So the first question that I asked everybody is whether or not you have an iPhone or an Android. The reason that I ask this is because it will help determine which instructions you need to follow when we are going through some of them a little bit later on, particularly when it comes to the apps. So make sure you have a look at your phone device and just recall if it's an iPhone or an Android, and take particular note of those instructions. The other thing that I would like you to have a look at is, what email platform do you use? The 2 main common ones that most clubs will be using are G Suite or Office 365. So that's that Gmail email address for the G Suite, and with Office 365, it's the Outlooks, the Hotmails, or the Lives. They're all interconnected and run by that Office 365 program. If you don't know which one you are using, potentially ask somebody in the club that may have an idea of what you're using, or have a look at what the app symbol says afterwards to identify with it. You can also have a look at using some of this information in more of your personal email life. So whether you may have a personal Gmail or a personal Hotmail or an Outlook, the content that we're going through today will still apply with those platforms. The other thing that I wanted to quickly mention is that there is a workbook that does go with this session, and I will make sure that this is sent around with this copy of this presentation so that you're able to use that through today's session as a reference point. It has a series of instructions for you to just go back to and refer to, but it also has some exercises for you to complete in your own time or with your club. So we'll get started on email basics, and we're going to learn about how we can use our email system a little bit more efficiently. So the first things we'll go through is how we can add an email attachment. We're then going to look at how we forward emails, how we create a folder. We'll then talk about spam emails, as I hate to think that some of us are getting hacked or spammed and losing money or resources because of this, and just some frequently asked questions on email. So the first thing that we're going to go through is how we add an email attachment. Now, as I was saying before, depending on what platform you are using, you're going to be using two different instructions. So I've broken them up into Gmail first and then Office 365 second. You'll notice when we go through these instructions, the Office 365 ones are a little bit more clearer. They say words like create a new email, open a new button, send. Sometimes when we're using Gmail as an alternative, they don't use those traditional words, possibly because they were trademarked and weren't allowed to. So they use words like compose when we want to create a new email. They have the word attach instead of using the little symbol. And then they'll say things like click open. But these are the instructions that are specific for Gmail, and you'll notice that these are in the first page of that workbook as well. If we go to the next slide, I've got the instructions there for Office 365. As I was saying, I think in order to put these into context, it's a little bit easier if I take you through how to actually add that email attachment. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to stop the presentation, and I'm going to go to the different platforms and show you how we can put those instructions into action. So the first thing we're going to look at is through our Office 365. Now, in this example, I'm using an Outlook account, so it should look fairly similar, but the concepts would still apply even if yours looks slightly different. So in order to add an email attachment, I'm going to start a new message. Once I've put in my details of who I'm going to send it to, so we'll put in that I'm going to send it to myself. We can add in our subject line, and we put in our different content. We then want to come down to here where we can see a little paperclip symbol, and we want to click attach, and then we can look at the three options. So we can attach our file by browsing this computer, browsing our cloud locations, or uploading and sharing. We're going to use browsing this computer. I'm just going to select a piece of content that I have sitting in my folder there. And as you can see, it's going to load that up there for us ready to use. So I now know that once I've finished typing in the rest of my message, if I click send, that email attachment has added to that email. That's all you need to do when you're sending an email attachment. Do keep in mind that you can add more than one email attachment per email. You just have to upload them each individually, or when you are selecting them from your computer, just highlight the ones in a row that you want to attach by clicking the Shift key and then clicking Open. It will then add all of those files, and you'll know that they're all loaded because the blue line will have completely loaded them up. There is a maximum file reach that we can reach on our email system. So if you do have large files, you may find that you need to send separate emails for each different file. We will also talk about in the next section different options that you can consider when we do have those larger files. So we're now going to look at how we can do this for our Gmail email accounts, if that's something that you do have. So Gmail will look like this. You'll come to your screen and you will click Compose. You will then type in the to line who you want to send your email to, put in your subject, type in your normal content like normal. And it's similar to what we saw before. We'll see the little attached file symbol. We'll click on this. It'll then load up our file. We'll click what we want to add and click Open, and it's going to load it up. So instead of being at the top, it just appears down the bottom, and when it's fully loaded, it won't have the blue bar there. And then the same as before, we just click Send. Easy as that. If you have your email account open now, it may be worth pausing this presentation and having a go at adding an email attachment yourself. The other thing that can be really important to consider using within your club organisation is forwarding emails. So in order to forward an email, we need to look out for this little symbol here. So it's that little right arrow that's pointing to the right. It just means that we can forward that email to somebody new who potentially wasn't part of the original email trail. You'll see here that there's a couple of other symbol options. So we've got the first little arrow pointing back to the left. That means that we're just going to reply back to the person who sent us that email. So if we wanted to just reply to them, we would hit that. If there were other people CC'd into the email, we wanted to respond to all of them to keep them in the loop with the communication that was happening, which can be particularly important in that club environment. We would then use the double arrow to the left, and that would mean that we are replying to everybody in that email, or reply all, as they refer to it in email world. But most importantly, if you're wanting to forward it to somebody who wasn't included in that chain, that's when we would use that right-hand arrow and we would forward it, and we can add some new notes at the above saying, "Hi Tom, just wanted to let you know about this email trail, please see below." And then it would send them everything that was corresponded in that previous email chain. The next thing we're going to look at is how we create a folder on Gmail and Office 365. So we've got the instructions here for Gmail and Office 365. So I'll just click through each of those, and then we'll go through and we'll actually show you how this works on a computer so you can see it in action. Again, you will be provided a copy of these slides, so don't feel you need to write down all of the instructions. You will be given a copy of these that have all of the instructions written so that you can sit there and follow. Plus, you can use this video recording as a playback to go through and pause and step yourself through the instructions that I go through. So the first thing we'll have a look at is how we do it using Office. So if we go back out here and we click on the inbox, we then want to create a folder. So as you can see, I've got some folders already sitting here on the left-hand side, but I want to create a new one. So if I scroll down to the bottom, I can click New Folder. I can then type in the name of that folder that I'd like to create and press Enter. It'll then bring that folder to here, but if I wanted to move that up a little bit higher, I could move that up here and it would move that folder to there, or I could move it over here. In order to put an email in that folder, what we need to do is we need to click on the email that we would like to move to there. So I'm going to tick this one, and then I'm going to click Move To up here on the top, and I'm going to find the folder that I want to move it to. So I want it to go to this one here. I'm then going to click there, and it's going to have moved that folder to test, as we can see down the bottom there. If you had another email that you wanted to move, you can click that button Move To again, and say that a new folder wasn't there that you wanted to exist, you can go to New Folder there and create a new folder that way. That's all we have to do. Creating folders, I guess, is a really great thing for you to consider using because it helps tidy up your inbox. If anyone's like me and suffers from OCD, there's nothing worse than having a messy inbox, not knowing what's been answered, what needs to be actioned, or if it's purely just junk mail. So by having that inbox sorting system with the folders, we can customize what's been actioned and put it away just in case we need that important information later. So especially when it comes to tax time, that's why I've got a tax folder. I saw all of that important information so that I can just open that folder at that time and I can bring up all of the information that I need. As an organisation, you might use it for the different roles that you have within your committee, and then those folders can be applicable for each committee member to go back and have a look at. The other thing that I guess it allows for is that we can make sure our folders clear out some of the space within our inbox. And what I mean by that is I just to go back through and make sure that everything has been actioned in those folders, and then we can ensure that we're doing our jobs. So we'll now go through it on Gmail. So if we click out of here, we want to create a new folder. So the same as before, if we scroll to the very bottom and click More, we have a button where it says Create New Label. So unlike on Hotmail where it says Folder, they use the word label, but it does exactly the same thing. So we're going to create a new label and we're going to call it Test and click Create. If I scroll up here, it puts it all in alphabetical order so I can see that test label here. If I click on it, I've got no messages in this label currently. But if I was to scroll up to my inbox and I click on the email that I would like to transfer, I can click on it. Similar to before where it said Move To, I would click the little logo that nearly looks like the forwarding button but in a folder, and then it will bring up all of my different folders and I would find the one that I want to add it to, or I can search it by starting to type it in and then I can click that one. It would then move that particular message to there. So if I was to now go to the test folder, I'll see that my email is in there now. So that's all you need to do when you're creating the different folders on your emails. Go back here now. Spam emails. So we know that there's an increasing amount of people receiving spam emails now. It's getting harder and trickier to navigate whether they are a real email or whether or not they are spam. But there are a couple of things that we can do to help assist ourselves in making sure that we're not giving out any details that we're not meant to, or we're not paying for anything that we're not supposed to. So the first thing that you should always look at in terms of spam is the sender's email address. If they are not a legitimate person, they generally will have a fake sounding email address, or they may even have an official first starting of that email address, but it would be at and a series of numbers, or it may not end in the .com or the .com.au, it would end in .7597, which we just know isn't a legitimate email address. So we need to make sure we're looking at that sender's email address and trying to narrow down if it is a real one or not. Sometimes we do get to this particular stage and we think that the sender's email address looks pretty legitimate. So then we might look at what other things that they're asking for. So what sort of information are they requesting from us? Are they asking for personal details? Are they asking us to send money to them or pay an invoice? If anything seems to be suspicious or something that you're not particularly aware about, especially in the club environment role in terms of the treasurer, if you're receiving an invoice and you're being told to pay something, you generally just go and pay it. But if you see something and you think, oh, well, that's not quite right, I don't really know what that's in regards to, it's always worth having a look at what is that information that they're requesting, asking someone else in the club if they know anything about it, or directly calling the company yourself to see if it is a legitimate invoice before paying it. We don't want to be paying for funds that we don't have to be, because it can be quite difficult to get that money back. The other things that we can look at in terms of checking if it's a spam email or not is the greeting. Particularly those people who are trying to spam us from other countries, they may not use the same greeting language that we use ourselves. So have a look at how they've addressed you and if it would be a traditional way that that particular organisation or business may speak to you. The other thing is when we're looking at that content on the email, if it has a suspicious link, it's possibly more than likely a virus that they're trying to infect our computer with. So if you do think that a link looks suspicious, please don't click it. We don't want to give away any of our information. So if we can avoid putting any viruses on our computer, we can. So if you think that it has a suspicious link, after you've opened that email, just delete that email straight away and don't click on it. The last thing that I always like to have a look at is the images, particularly if it's a company that is a large organisation in Australia and it's coming from their email account. They'll generally have really good imagery included in that email. So if the image is looking a little bit grainy or it's looking a little bit off in terms of a logo, it's more than likely that it's probably been hacked together by somebody trying to see if they can get away with being that company. This is particularly, I guess, important for scammers when they're looking at pretending to be a bank. So making sure that it looks like that bank's logo is really important. So the last thing with emails that we're going to look at is some of the frequently asked questions. So the first one that I always commonly get asked is, should I delete my emails? And my answer is always, delete your emails if you've actioned them and they're no longer required to be saved as a reference point for you to go back to. There's no point having extra emails clogging up our inboxes if they've been no longer important to our business. So just delete them. The second question I commonly get asked is, should I file all of my emails? We went through the folder thing because in particular, it's important to keep that inbox clean. So by having that file system in place with the folders or the labels, if you're using Gmail, it just keeps a little bit of order. And as I said earlier, if you have a club where there's multiple committee roles, it just allows that committee member to go back to that folder and find the information that they may be seeking. Particularly important if you are swapping roles with different committee members, or you need to have some information about events that might have a 7-month lead up time. The most important thing in terms of deleting those folder emails as well is to have a system in place where somebody goes back and checks over them every 12 months to remove any ones that are no longer relevant. The reason that I recommend doing this is that our email systems get quite clogged up, and over time our emails can get a little bit too much storage space, and so what happens is we tend to stop receiving emails to our account and people will have emails bounce back from us. So if we're going through those folders and clearing them out every 12 months, we're removing some of that storage space to allow new emails to come into our system. The last question that I commonly get asked, especially in the club environment, is that should we have just one club email or should we have multiple emails? Generally speaking, we used to say just having one clear club email makes it really easy, clean. We can have the different folders for the different committee members and they can access their folder and just have all of the information there. It's just one point of contact. That was always the way that I would have recommended going, but now that there is a lot of, I guess, things in place for two authentication in order to access an email, it is better to have separate emails for the different positions so that there isn't just one person whose number is associated to that authentication and they have to then get the text message saying this is the code that you need to put in to access those emails. So if we have the separate one, it just allows us to have that little bit more flexibility to use the emails when we need to use them and not having to rely on somebody else to let us into that email account. It also allows for us to, I guess, transfer the ownership of that email account quite easily. And if you need to send things about other committee members, which I'm sure doesn't happen very often, that are private and confidential, we can allow that to happen through that email chain by having the separate email account. Well, that's emails done. So we're now going to have a look at sharing documents. Now, in this particular part of the presentation, I do have two videos that I will play for you. So hopefully that the volume comes through fine and they will work as well as I hope that they do. So sharing documents is a really great thing for clubs because it can allow us to share templates, so whether it be letterhead or letters of grant, business cards, it could be a poster for a particular event that's happening. We can record our meeting minutes into a live document that anybody could access and jump in and make changes to. And anyone with an email address can access these documents. So in terms of the two platforms that we use, we have two different sharing platforms. So with Office 365, they have a system called OneDrive, and with Gmail, they have a system called the Google Drive. Both work very similar. They're all about being a cloud-based software that stores all of our information up there in the sky somewhere. And all we need to do is make sure that no matter what device we're connected to, we just sign in with our email address and password and we can access those documents at any place. If everybody has access to a particular folder with access to that email address, then they can log into those documents. So in a club environment, it can save a lot of time. For some of you, you may be emailing around those minutes currently. You would no longer have to do that. You could just put them into the minutes folder and then send everybody an email or a message saying the minutes have been updated in the folder so that they could go and view them. Or we may have a particular date and time in place when you know that they're going to be in there so everybody would then go and look for them. It just allows for a little bit more space, but for you to also save some time. The other benefit, especially when it comes to social media, is sharing photographs. So we know that it can be quite difficult to get photos of people when they're out and about on the course, and for you guys in particular, you're out there all the time, so it may be easy for you guys to just take a snap with your camera on your phone. And with the sharing platforms of OneDrive and Google Drive, you actually have the opportunity to download the app onto your phone and then share that picture directly by uploading it to a folder through that system. So it's a great way to, I guess, share resources really quickly and efficiently rather than making it a time thing for you guys. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the videos on each of these programs so you can have a look at how they work. So we're going to start with Google Drive just first. So that's a little bit about Google Drive. So we'll now look at the Microsoft equivalent. So we'll look at OneDrive. And that's just a little bit about OneDrive. So we'll keep going along and turn on to the next section now. So the next section we're going to go through is social media. This section is particularly important if you would like to learn how to create a post on Facebook in general, just because you're not sure. But in particular, it's a really great section for those of you who might be helping operate the social media account in your club or organisation, or you may have a particular interest to have a look at having a go at it in the future. So the first thing that we have a look at is what we're going to cover today. So we've got creating a post, scheduling a post, adding events on Facebook, apps to assist, and planning your content. So in terms of social media today, we're only going to focus on Facebook, and that's because it's probably the most important platform for you guys to really use right now. The platform allows you to connect with your friends and family with a personal account, but it also will allow you to connect with people who are similar to you in wanting to participate in either golf or bowls or whatever sport it is that you are currently playing. Facebook is a free platform for anyone to have, and anyone can create a business account on the platform. In order to have access to a business page on Facebook, you just need to have a personal account and be added as an admin or an editor to that page to start posting on the page. So the first thing we'll have a look at is how we create a post. So in order to create a post on Facebook, we just need to click create post on our page. We need to type in the content description. We need to add an image or a video, and we want to click post. So you can see in the example here on the left-hand side how we have done this. So we've clicked on the create a post, we've typed in the content that we would like to say, and we've added an image to go with it. In terms of posting on your club's pages, we always suggest that you include a video or an image with that particular piece of content that you're putting out there, just because the Instagram and Facebook algorithm prefer us to have those images in order to push it out to the people who follow your page rather than just a piece of written content. The same process will apply whether you're posting on an individual account or if you're posting on your business account. You just need to click that create a post section. You may notice with your business account that it may take you to a section called publishing tools, and that's completely fine. That's where you can go in and you can create your posts through there. When you're creating your posts through the business page in those publishing tools, it actually allows you to go to an option there under post called scheduled posts. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to create a range of different posts all in one session where we can have a bit of a power hour and type out a few different posts with some different images to spread out over the next month's worth of Facebook content. But we can schedule when those posts will go out. So if we know that we are going to be busy at 7:30 at night and we need to put out a post at then, we can schedule a post to go at 7:30 that night so that people still get the post that they need to, but we can continue doing what we're doing. So Facebook have this inbuilt system where when we create our post, we can actually select the date and the time that we want that post to go out. And when that date and time rolls around, Facebook will automatically post it out for us. So it's a really simple thing to set up. It's just the same as when we create our post, but instead of saying publish, we would say schedule post. It would then bring up this screen that's on the right-hand side here, where we would choose that date and time and then click the blue schedule button. Now, something that can be really important for clubs to do is have events on Facebook. These events can help us if we've got open days at our club, if we've got pro tournaments, all those different things that happen within our club that we need people to know about. Potentially, we may have done paper invites in the past or posters. It's a great way to, I guess, have an additional marketing tool out there to get more people to learn about what's happening within your club. So the Facebook event feature is completely free with your business account. It just allows us to have that direct buy ticket, that direct link to people for people to buy those tickets to your event. So if you're using something like Eventbrite, you can link that in with your Facebook event. You can also invite people via email. So if somebody doesn't have Facebook, but you have their email address, we can still invite them to that event through that Facebook event, which is a really great thing. It also includes an interactive map. So the interactive map is particularly great if people find it difficult to find your location, especially if it is a new day where it might be an open day for people to come trial at your club and they're not sure how to get there. By clicking on that map, that's going to be interactive and give them the directions on how they need to get there. The other great thing that it does is that it sets reminders about when that event is happening. So people will get a reminder the week before the event, the day before, and an hour before that event. So it's just a way that we can make sure that they're getting those reminders so that they actually turn up and come to our events if possible. So we can see here on the left-hand side, we've just got a little bit of an example of what it can look like. So you can have a photo with it, you can have a heading, it'll have the date, who it's hosted by, the day and the time, and if it's an online event or a physical event, so in most of your cases, it's going to be a physical event. And so you're able to put in your address there so that people can then click that map to find you. If we have a look at the different steps on how we create these events, we just need to put in our particular event name. So in this example, I've used Bowls Launch. We then click the start date of the event and the start time. So we're going to have it starting at 2 p.m. and finishing at 4 p.m. Where it says reoccurring event, if it's an open day that happens once a month, you could actually set that up as a recurring event to happen each month rather than creating a separate one each time. But otherwise, you can just create a once-off event. In your description, you would put what that event's about, any additional information that you think that people may need to know about. We choose our category. So in this example, I've got sports, and then we add our location of where the event would be held. And then we would click next. And then the last thing that we would do is we would upload a photo that we want to have associated with that event. If there's a ticket link, so if it's a free event or they need to email you to register, you would put that in that description back in step 1. But if there is a link that we can send them to, so say Eventbrite or Sticky Ticket, we can add that ticket link directly there. And then all we need to do is click create event and that will go live. So as I said, really great for having a new way to reach people about what's happening in your club and potentially get new people to come along to your events. A great cool tool that I like to recommend to people in these sessions is called Canva. Now, the reason that I wanted to recommend it to you guys is that it's not only ideal for helping create those Facebook posts for the business page if you are having issues maybe customizing a photo so it looks neat and tidy, or if you need your logo on something. you can use this tool. It's completely free. But the other reason that I like to recommend it is that for people in club environments, you're often having to develop posters, or you might have to design a postcard, you might even design a brochure. This particular program allows us to do all of that in there. It's actually made by a lady who's from Western Australia, and she's a billionaire now because of this program. So she was a graphic designer, and she decided there needed to be something easy for everybody to be able to use. And so that's why she developed it. The reason that I love it is that we can add our logo to it, we can add our colors to it. It has a range of templates for us to already choose from to help us get started. And it allows us, I guess, the opportunity to make something a little bit more creative or different than what we would usually do. We can also share our creations across different people. So if you've got an email address with someone and there's two of you working on a particular event, you can share that design with each other and see what each person thinks, or whether you both want to work on it together, then you can do that through the tool as well. So completely free. It will ask you to sign up to a paid account, but there is a little X in the right-hand side that you can tap to make sure that you're only using the free version. The last thing that I'm going to look at is how we plan our content. So if you go to the workbooks that you may have downloaded before this presentation, you'll notice that there's two empty content plans. And if I skip ahead, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Sorry, for some reason it does not like me today. It's okay, we'll just go back into it. So you'll see that you have a blank version that you can use on that booklet. And what it's about is it's to take back to your clubs, and even if you aren't the person that's in charge of social media, it's about creating a conversation to those that are, or if nobody's doing it, to say maybe we should start. It's about planning the content that we're actually going to post on the page. So sometimes it can be rather difficult to think of what are we going to post on our club page. There's only so many pictures of us playing golf that we can post. So what are some other things that we can do? So what we like to do in that first section, where you've got just the columns, and you can see on the screen an example here now, is we like to create 4 to 6 different category ideas, and then underneath them list all the different types of posts that we could do. So in this example, it's for a page that provides tips on how to use digital technology. So we've got a thing there, or a heading called apps and programs, and then all the different posts that we could do underneath it. So they're all the different types of apps that we could post about. So we've got the Skype, the bank app, ABC, iView. The same applies to your club. So you could have a column that is around potentially behind the scenes, and that could be things around how the club operates, maybe committee members, so doing a little picture around them and who they are and what makes them special and unique. You might then do a section on how to educate people on the particular sport. So it might be providing some tips on how to keep your clubs in fine form, what sorts of uniforms should be worn when you are on a golf site, those sorts of important information that you would like to communicate, but in a nice, friendly manner. So it's just about mapping out all the different types of content that you would like to share with people through social media. The second part of the sheet allows us to then go and plan that, so we can say, these are what we're going to post about on these particular days. It helps us keep our content in check in terms of making sure that if we say we're going to post twice a week, we ensure that we are posting that twice a week, and we've got those 2 different content headings ready to go, and then we just need to pick a theme from that brainstorm sheet from before, and then we can put our posts together and then schedule them out to go. The great thing with this too is that we've got a calendar line there where you can put in the local events. So if you are holding one of those events that we've created through that Facebook event feature before, we can also pop it into our calendar here so that we know to do a post. So let's say we had an event down here on the 4th of December, back up here on the 11th of November, we might have a post to talk about the event. so that we can encourage people to learn what that event is about and potentially register so that they can attend. So when it comes time to the event, we have people lined up and ready to go. The other great section that's there is that we can have a responsibility column. So if there's more than one person managing the social media account, we can assign who's responsible for that content and use it as more of a tick chart to say, yes, that's being done, or no, there still needs to be done. So it's just a great way to create a little bit more organisation within your club environment. As I say, this may not be particularly relevant to you because you may have somebody who's in charge of your social media, or you may not even have social media at all. But what this is a great way to do is to take this to your club environment and say, hey, did you know we can plan out our content and we can sit here and have a brainstorm? All of you will have different ideas about what you would like to see, or maybe you've seen on somebody else's page that you'd like to post about your club to encourage new people to join you. So it's a good way to have a bit more of collaboration and get everyone involved about what they would like to see on Facebook. So it could be worth taking that worksheet back to your next meeting and saying, I think we should have a subcommittee, or we should have a meeting where we go through these and actually plan out our social media content. That's social media. So the next bit that we're going to go through is connecting technology. So we're going to look at a couple of different things with this. So we're going to look at Group Messenger, we're going to then look at Facetime, and we're going to look at Zoom. So group message platforms are really great if we want to communicate a really quick message to certain people. For you guys in that club environment, you might want to have your committee have a Facebook group. And so that if something happens before the next meeting that you need to communicate out really quickly, rather than calling everybody and telling them, you're actually able to post that message into the group, and then everybody who is part of that group can see that message and respond, or they can tick that they've seen it, so that you know that the message has got out there. It's a little bit quicker on you guys because, as I say, you don't have to call up everybody individually, and you can ensure that it's told before the next meeting. So there are a couple of different platforms you can use. So the first is Messenger on Facebook, and the second is WhatsApp. Particularly in Australia, most of us will tend to use Messenger on Facebook, and now you can use Messenger without having to have a Facebook profile. So it can be a great one for people to have that don't want to be on the Facebook platform, but still can be involved in that group message. So this is just an example of what Messenger looks like. So we can actually name that group. So in this example, you'll see that it's called Study Group. By naming that group, then people are aware about what that chat's about, so that if you have different subcommittees or you're part of different multiple group chats, you can identify which one's the right one for you to talk with. But you'll notice that when people are talking, they've got their message and they'll have their little circle. So you can identify who sent that particular message, and if you hover over it, it will say their name above. So you can see there that that was Josh who sent that message in that group chat. So in order to create a group chat, what we need to do is we need to open the Messenger app. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see that there's a little square with a pencil icon through the middle of it. If we select that, it will then ask us to choose the people we'd like to add to the message. So one at a time, you just need to put a tick next to the name of the people that you'd like to add to that chat. Now, do keep in mind, you possibly may need to be friends with that person in order to add them. If you might not be friends with someone, but you know somebody else that is, once you've added that other person, they can then go in and add that other person to the group chat. Once you've selected all of the people that you need in that conversation, you can click Done. You then need to start typing the very first message that you want to send out to the group and click Send. Once you've sent that first piece of communication, you can then go into the settings and change the name of that chat. You can add people, you can remove people, and best of all, you can keep continuing to send messages to each other in that same chat facility. So if you go back out to your main screen, you'll see that that chat has actually saved as part of your normal chat functionality. So I've just got a little video here that shows you how it works. So that also talked a little bit about how we can video call people using Messenger. So that wasn't something that I mentioned before. So it doesn't also just chat about that group chat facility. It also talks about how we can video call individuals as well, or video call a whole group if you would like to. The next app that might be useful for you guys to use, particularly you might even be a bit across it because of COVID, is Facetime. Now this app is only something that you can use if you have an iPhone, so that's that Apple mobile phone device. There is an equivalent for Android. I'm not actually sure what it's called, as it's not as commonly used, but I do know that it is starting to get built into some of the phones. But Facetime is a really cool app that people can use if you do have an Apple device. The only thing is you do or can only use the app if the other person has an Apple device as well. So it's great for connecting with family and friends, and especially if you've got them in other parts of the country or other parts of the world right now, it means that they can have a conversation with you face to face rather than just through a normal telephone conversation. It's part of your phone, so it has a really clear picture and sound. It doesn't actually cost anything other than what your normal phone call would cost you as part of your plan. And you can have multiple people in the chat. You can do backgrounds on it. It's so much fun. Really good way to keep in touch and kind of see each other face to face, even if it is on a screen. So I do have some instructions here on how to use Facetime. These are some generic instructions but apply to every Apple device out there, whether it be using your Apple phone or your iPad. So we just want to open the app. We want to click the plus icon in the top right corner. We want to type in the names or the numbers of the people you'd like to talk to. So if they're in your contact list, their names will come up as you type, and then you can click on each name to add them to the call. You can also click on the circle with a plus inside it to open up your contact list and select people there. You can then tap their name to open up the contacts and tap their number to add them, and then we'll click the green video button to start calling them. Now, I know that probably just sounded like a whole jumbled lot of instructions, but if you're sitting down with these slides and then trying to action it, it might make a little bit more sense. But to help put it into practice, I've got a little video to show you how to do it. that's just a little bit about FaceTime. The next tool that I'm going to talk about is Zoom. It's a similar platform to Skype or Google Meet if you've used either of those during the COVID period or before that. But Zoom is a free tool that anybody can access. You just need to create an account using an email address. It's great for connecting with family and friends across the world. The reason that I prefer it over the other video technology is that it's a little bit clearer with the camera. The sound has better quality and you can add a few more people to it and see them all on the one screen rather than having just different screens appearing when they're talking. So you can change the view of how you see it so that you can see everybody at once. So it can be a really great tool to connect with each person. Particularly during COVID, or if something like this was to ever occur again, it could be ideal for using in a meeting type situation, or even again, if you don't want to have face-to-face meetings in the near future because it is more convenient to have them at home and just jump online, do the meeting for an hour and then jump off and continue with whatever you need to do at home, then you could use that Zoom technology to run those meetings quite easily. So what I've done is I've put the instructions together for each of the devices. I'm not going to go through each of them now because I feel like that would just be telling you all way too much information. But what I'll do is I'll just skip through each of these slides. But if you would like to find the device that you would prefer to use the Zoom on, you can refer back to these instructions at any time. So I've got them for Apple, Android, and for your computer device. So with Zoom, it is really great because we can use it on our phones, but we can also use it on a laptop or a computer as well. It does need to have the internet in order to be running. It doesn't use very much data though. So if you are running Zooms, you should be fine to have that running and not worry about it causing too much data issues. And we do have a little video here on how to use Zoom. And one is based on how to use it on the mobile and the other is on the computer. That was on our phone, so let's have a look at on our computer. Now, this particular video does reference businesses, but you can apply this at a club level, at a personal level as well. that's using Zoom. So the next time you're organising a family catch-up or you want to try a new way of doing your club meeting, perhaps consider trying to use Zoom. Even try Facetime if you all have mobile devices that are Apple. And most importantly, if you are wanting to communicate during those times when you want to just share one message in one chat facility, would highly recommend creating that group chat straight away so that you can do that and make it a lot easier for you guys to communicate just that small little bits of information that you need to get out there. So we're nearly near the end of today's presentation, but we've just got one section to go through right before we get to some resources to help you. And this section is looking at apps. So we're going to look at how we can download our apps on our phone. We're looking at updating our apps, closing out of apps, heart health, and the MindScore app. So in order to download an app onto your phone, you need to go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on what your mobile device is. You need to find the app that you want. So you can either search that app through the search bar, if you know the name of the app, or you could search for a particular type of theme app, and it will give you a range of suggestions. To see if the app is reliable, look at what other people have to say about it, what star rating the app has, or how many people have downloaded it. It kind of gives us a bit of an indication about if that app is a good app to use or not, especially when it comes to paid apps. We don't want to be paying for an app if it isn't going to be exactly what we need it to be. So just have a look at that information before you click on it. Once you've read the individual reviews, scroll to the review section, and then you can pick the install button or click on the app's price, and it will start downloading that to your device. It generally takes a couple of minutes to download, and then it will give you the option to open that app straight away, and then you can start using the app, whether it be creating the account first or signing in with your login details. But that's all you need to do when it comes to downloading the app. You will notice when you visit that app store, it sometimes has a number and it has your app and it tells you that you need to update it. So it just means that the next thing we need to do is update those apps so that they've got the latest technology. So big companies, they go and fix their apps all the time to make us have a better user experience and ensure that there's no issues with the app that they might have known about before they potentially could have fixed. So I've got the instructions here on how to do it for an Android device. So we would go to the Google Play Store app, we'd tap the menu and then My Apps and Games. And then the apps with an update available are labeled Update. So you can search for a specific app and update it, or you can just tap Update and it will update all of the apps that are sitting there that need updating. If you are updating apps, try and do it when you're connected to Wi-Fi because it can take a little bit of time to update your apps, and do it when you're not needing to use your phone straight away. If you don't have Wi-Fi, just use the data, but again, just make sure that it's when you're not needing to use your phone and you've got a couple of minutes to sit there and let them update. Whilst they're updating, just leave the app store open till it has all of the updates done with the little circles so you know that it's completed. When you go back to your home screen, you'll see that if an app's been updated, it might be a little bit of a different color, or it might have a little star symbol next to it or a circle. So then you can click on it and it will probably tell you what its new features are when you click on it. So if you have an Apple device, we want to open the App Store, then tap Today at the bottom of the screen. You'll tap your profile icon at the top of the screen, so it's a little person, and then you'll scroll down and you'll see that there's some pending updates and release notes. Tap Update next to an app, or if you want to update all of them, tap Update All. Now, one of the most important things that will help you close out of your apps but save your phone battery life is closing out of your apps each day. Just by clicking out of the app doesn't actually close all of the apps entirely. It's still running in the back end of things. So what we want to do is we want to go through and we want to clear everything off our phone. And we would want to do this at least once a day if possible to really help our battery life on our phone device. So for an Android, what we want to do is we want to swipe up from the bottom and we want to hold it and then let go. So if we swipe up, it should then bring up a little bit of a screen and it has multiple screens of all the different apps or web pages that you've had open. And then in order to close them, if you go to the middle of that screen and go from left to right, you'll be able to swipe them individually, or on the left, there's a button that says clear all, and it will clear all of those apps. On an iPhone, we want to swipe up from the bottom of the screen to open the app switcher. If you have an older iPhone, so an iPhone 8 or below, so they're the ones that might still have the home screen button, if you double click that home screen button, it will also bring you to the app switcher. You then want to swipe side to side through your apps until you find the one you want to close. And then when you found the ones that you want to close, or all of them, if you're wanting to close all of them, you just need to swipe up on your phone and you'll see that they start to disappear off that list, and you can see that it's closing them off. So once you're done closing all the apps, tap anywhere on the screen other than the cards or press the home button to close the app switcher. And if you tap an app card, it'll just open that particular app. So if you've closed out of all of them, it's not going to open up into anything. As I said, this will help save your phone battery. It'll help the apps not to chew any data that they're not meant to be chewing whilst you're not using the app. And it will save some memory space in your phone as well. So something that I particularly recommend to do at least once a day if you can, if not at least once a week. Now, something great about having digital technology so advanced these days is that our phones actually come with a health app on our device. So you can see that I've got two symbols there. The one here on the right-hand side with the pink love heart, that is the icon for the Apple phone, and the one on the left are for Android devices. So these health apps are really great for helping count our steps. So very similar to a smartwatch for those who might have one of those. It also can help track our sleep. It also adds our medical ID. So if you were out on the course and for any reason something was to happen to you and we were unsure about who we need to contact in case of an emergency, by having the health app, you can add your medical ID, which will have all of the information that people need to make those decisions in that time. So something that can be really important to just add to your phone to ensure that if something was to ever happen, then you've got that in there ready for them to use straight away. So the last app that I want to talk about is called MyScore. It's particularly important for golf clubs because it is an app designed particularly for golfers. The aim is to take away the manual process or the handwritten process of writing out our scorecard. I believe Golf Australia have a vision that by 2025, they would like to remove all paper scorecards and have everybody using this digital technology. So if you are interested in this app that I'm about to go through, it would be great to talk with Golf Australia because they are more than happy to help set you up and get you started on this app. So what it can do is it allows you to score for Stableford, par, stroke, or best ball competitions. You log into your home club and then you submit your gross scores as a marker while tracking your pace of play, and you can view the GPS distance as well. What's most important is that people still have to sign that their results are accurate. If somebody is watching from another place, they can log in and see their live results. So that's very cool. But it ensures that no cheating can still be done, and it's all done accurately as it was on the written scorecard. So in order to use MyScore, you just need to download it from the App Store. When you log in, it'll ask you to add your home club. So provided that your home club has set up that account, which is what Golf Australia can assist you with as a club to set up initially, you can then log in using your membership username and password. So when a home club is created, it'll create a membership username and password for every member at your club. You can then select a playing partner in your group to mark for, and then continue that score entry. When all scores are entered, you can validate the results with a signature and then submit for verification. So very, very similar to what you were doing. It's just doing it through your phone, through a digital means. As I said, it's a way that Golf Australia would like us to go by 2025. So it is something that you should start considering how you can use this in your club now. Now, I do understand that it can be quite difficult to get everybody on board using these types of programs. So what I would recommend is having somebody within your club that is the champion of MyScore, and so they learn how to use it themselves. They might start using it with a couple of other people, but then they sit down with each person to help them set up their MyScore and show them how to use it. Most of us, when we're shown how to use something once or twice, we're then happy to keep having a go at it and using it for future times. So definitely would encourage you to have a champion of this program and start thinking about how you can use this in your club, because it's also a great tool to potentially attract new people to your club. And especially if you feel you'd like to attract some younger members to your club, it could be a real good draw card to get them there. Just to show you a little bit about how MyScore apps, because I couldn't actually use the app because I'm not part of the club, I've just found their introduction video to show you a little bit more information about it. Again, though, if you would like to learn some more about it, contact Andrew from Club Tasmania and he can point you in the right direction of who can help assist you with that, or contact Golf Australia. And now we're on to the last bit. So we'll just go through some of the resources to assist you further. So if you found that today was valuable, but it possibly went a little bit too quickly, or you would have preferred to have been able to participate in a face-to-face session, there are a couple of other ways that you can learn some of the things that we've gone through today. So the first thing that I wanted to point you in the direction of was the Digital Ready for Daily Life program. So this is a new program that's been developed in the last 12 months by the Department of State Growth that's aimed at helping getting Tasmanians online. It has a whole list of resources for you to access. It also links in with the Library Tasmania events that are held across the state that are run in conjunction with Be Connected about some of the different topics. So it might be how to use emails, how to use social media, spam or cyber security, a whole range of things. So definitely worth having a look at their website page, looking at their Facebook page. So they constantly provide different tips each week on different things. So it might be on their smartphone device, it may be even on what apps to use. And they've also got a subscription list that you can subscribe to get emails about when events are happening in your local area. In line with that, the other resource to use is obviously Libraries Tasmania. As I mentioned, libraries in conjunction with Be Connected run a range of computing and technology programs across the state at every library. They're held each month, and even now during COVID, they've been going back to face-to-face sessions. So you can go there, you can get some more skills and learn some different things. They also have access to different computers if you don't have your own computer to access. So great facility to go and use, completely free, so highly recommend it. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that each of our clubs is our own business, it's an organisation. So you are actually eligible for 2 hours free mentoring or training or coaching on anything that we've discussed today to enhance your club's skills and capabilities, or potentially even to chat further about that social media or the websites within your club. Each calendar year, you're eligible for those 2 hours coaching, so you can book that via the website or through the Digital Ready hotline. So something to consider. And as I say, we're getting close to the end of the year, so if you can get a session in before December, you're then eligible for another session as of January the 1st. So great initiative to get involved in, can help upskill different people within the club environment, and can also help boost your marketing efforts so that you can attract new people to the club in the future. And of course, Clubs Tasmania. So none of this would be possible without Andrew's support today. So please, if you have any questions, any concerns, any thing that you would like assistance with, please contact Andrew. I know he has spoke at the beginning of this video, but he is a great resource for you guys to access and utilize during this time. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today in this presentation. I know it can be rather difficult in these types of things when they are recorded to take all of that information in, especially when there's a combination of me pointing and showing how to do things and watching videos. But I do hope that you've come away with at least a tip or a skill that you may not have known before. It's also great that it's in this video format because it means that you can go back, re-watch it, you can pause, you can step your way through those things, and you can continue upskilling yourself many, many more times. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again.